Welcome back. We're in chapter 22. This is the second one. You guys want more guitar, so we have more guitar. So this song is called the Tarantella. It's an Italian song, folk song, from the Naples region, which is where some of my family came from. And I actually used to dance this with my mother years ago at weddings and things. Neither of us are doing that anymore. Let's play it. That's Tarantella. So, today, this lecture, I want to talk about offer and acceptance. Because if you read the book, you found out that this is a little different than what we all expected. It's because of the UCC. And so, one thing to understand is the UCC is made to accommodate commerce instead of make it more difficult. So the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, changes at different times based on how customs and practices actually change. So we're seeing the first of that here in offer and acceptance. Now, in terms of an offer, there's really nothing that's significant from the common law. But in acceptance, it is. No longer is there such rigidity in terms of what you must do to accept. Pretty much anything that shows that you accept is good enough, unless, of course, the offer specifies the manner of acceptance. And an acceptance in common law required what we call the mirror image rule, which is you have to exactly agree to all the terms that were in the offer. But on an acceptance under UCC, it's a little different. All you need to do, at least in terms of non-merchants, and this applies to merchants too, is acknowledge that you want to do it. And if somebody else throws in another term, it doesn't negate your acceptance, nor does it kill the offer, like it did under the common law. Rather, I'll use an example in the book, for example. They said, somebody offers, I'll buy your, was it Xbox, I think? Yeah, Xbox for $150. And she says, deal. She says, I'll take it. I want the Call of Duty included, which is software program. Well, you know better than I do. And so the UCC says, we have a deal. They've already agreed to buy the Xbox for $150. The only question we have is Call of Duty included or not? And so when the offeree, said that back to the offeror, if the offeror says okay, then we know the deal is complete. If he says no, then all we have is a contract for the Xbox and not the Call of Duty for $150. So it works rather differently than what we're used to, but that's the way it is. So, which takes us to what happens with merchants. This gets complicated. It's called the Battle of the Forms. And if you read this in the book, your head was spinning. I'm sure it was. So let's back up a little bit. In commerce, in business, things aren't as simple as offer and acceptance sometimes. There are times when a company needs something done. Parts built, part of a building fixed or added on to, buying trucks, whatever. And what they often will do is sort of put out a call for bids. Hey, here's the specs, here's what we're looking for, here's what this part should be, and we'd like you to take a look at it and submit your bid. And so the contractors do. They submit a bid based on what the specs were. I can build that for, $5.12. If their bid is accepted, then a PO is issued. PO is a purchase order, which is a very long thing. It's not like, okay, we got a deal. And then the people who are selling it often will send it out with an invoice to be paid. Each of those steps are usually on paper or in some type of record, could be a digital record. And each of them have their own unique language. And so it raises the question, well, what did you exactly agree to? The terms that were in the original request for bids, or that you put on your bid yourself, or in the PO, or in the invoice. They could all be conflicting with each other. Do we have a deal or don't we? Common law says, you don't have a deal. UCC says, you got a deal. You guys want to do this. The buyer and the seller wanted to do something, so they clearly have to, and so they're going to. What is the contract? Well, that's the question. So if you look in your book, on page 417, there's a chart in there, chart 22-1. And it's pretty good, okay? So look on the right side where it says merchants. The idea here is that, does the contract have additional terms or does it not? And the rule of thumb is, for Battle of the Forms, commercial entities, the additional terms are part of the contract unless, these are three big unlesses, unless it makes a material change. That is something very significant that would really factor into consideration. Or if the offer that sent says, and this is it, there's no changes, no nothings, just what we say here, then you can't have any additional terms. The third is if somebody puts into any of the forms along the way, whatever the terms they want to have are, somebody could object. The other side could object. Nope, we're not doing that. We don't agree to that. So the idea running here is the contract will have additional terms that the parties have added unless they're material, the offer was limited, or one of the parties objects. And terms can be any number of things. There's a credit term that's done sort of routinely in some buying and selling of goods. Okay, so there's one called 210 net 20, net 30, I'm sorry. 2/10 and 30, that's how it's written. And what that means is that if you pay within 10 days of receiving the invoice, or the invoice issued, you get a 2% discount, 210. Whether you do or not, though, it all has to be paid within 30 days, net 30. So that's a term that has some significance. And if somebody's changing that, that could be material, and that probably was not going to fly that way. But if one party puts it in, nobody else has, and the other party doesn't have anything regarding any credit terms, then it could go in unless they complain, object, or they limited their offer. So that's sort of what the Battle of Forms is. That's what they're talking about in here, just so you can kind of figure that out. All right, that's it.